This was December of 2015. I was in Brazil, in Rio, beautiful city. Would love to go back there. But I was sitting on the couch of my host on couch surfing, and I was watching, whiling away time on the internet, and I came across a video which I found very fascinating. The video had Bolivian youngsters, so people from Bolivia, which is a South American country. They were dancing to Shah Rukh Khan, Kareena song, Marjani from the movie Billu, and I was, scratching my head to understand why the hell are these people dancing to Indian songs, and 99.99% of Indians have probably not even heard of a country called Bolivia. Now you must be wondering, what does Bolivian Bollywood dance have to do with talking about yourself? Keep the faith, watch the entire video, because there is an interesting way in which you can talk about yourself and people won't feel that you're bragging, but at the same time that they will get the messages that you want to deliver. So watch the video to understand how you can do that. Yes, so I got to know about these Bolivian youngsters who were dancing to Bollywood songs. I could not stop myself. Back then I used to be a freelance travel writer. I mean, I still am. I write sometimes, but back then I used to regularly contribute to Mint Lounge, and I wrote an email to my editor who approved the story immediately, and I decided from Brazil to go to Bolivia to chase this story specifically. So after a flight and an overnight bus journey, I was in the town of Oruro. Oruro is a small mining town right in the heart of Bolivia, and it's known, I mean, otherwise it's not really known, but it's known for the carnival in February. Beyond that, there are no tourists who come to the town. So I was literally maybe one of the few travelers or tourists in that town during that particular time. So I chased this group and I met them. I spent 2 days with them. So this group was called Dansa Indu, and they were people who were self-learned. So one of them, who's Antonio, had actually found a fascination, or rather he had gotten fascinated with Indian song and dance through YouTube, and then decided to teach himself how to dance. And the clan just kept on growing. By when I reached there, I think there were about 25-30 odd people. Probably there are a lot more people now. It's been like 7 odd years since I met them, and they were so passionate about Indian song and dance that they would actually stitch their own costumes, because there are no tailors in Bolivia who stitch Indian clothes. They would stitch their own costumes to perform, in town centers, at birthday parties, at weddings, etc. etc. They loved Indian movies so much that one of them, during that time, Netflix still wasn't like a big thing. They would go to the town market on Fridays, get pirated CDs and DVDs, and one of them would painstakingly sit down and put Spanish subtitles to the Hindi movie dialogues. And everybody would then get together and watch these movies and enjoy the weekend. Their love for Bollywood, for India and Indian cinema, art, was unparalleled. I mean, hats off to them. I really realized the power, or the soft power, of Bollywood during that trip, and since then I'm less of a critic of Bollywood movies. But when I was leaving the place, there was this girl called Norma in the group, and I asked Norma, what's your dream? Norma looked back at me and she said, Sachin, my dream is to perform Indian dance in front of an Indian audience in India at least once in my life. I narrate this story many times in my workshops and everywhere else, but every time that I narrate it, it sort of takes me back to that town, takes me back to Oruro, to Bolivia, and amongst these passionate people. Now take a pause for a minute and I'll come back and tell you what does this story or what can this story teach you about talking about yourself or your achievements without bragging. Yes, so this story of the Bollywood dancers of Bolivia is something that I narrate in a lot of my workshops. And after narrating the story, I ask the audience, I ask my workshop participants, what is the message that you got about me, the narrator, the storyteller, after listening to the story? More often than not, people say stuff like, you really like to chase unique stories, which I think is true about me. Second, they say that, oh, you've been a writer, you've written for publications like Mint Lounge, which are good publications, so that's great. The other message that they get is, you are a good storyteller, and that's like music to my ears. So these are some of the messages, some of the 3 top messages that a lot of people get from the story that I narrated. And why is this important to talking about yourself? Now, if you see that the story, the entire focus of the story or the hero of my story were the Bollywood dancers of Bolivia. But the story helps me narrate something about myself, my qualities, what am I interested in, and what are my abilities. Now, this is the secret sauce to talking about yourself without bragging. More often than not, when we talk about ourselves or our achievements, our focus is on us, which is more like, you're looking back into yourself and you're narrating a story or you're narrating an example where you're saying, oh, this happened and I was really cool and I did this, etc., which puts a lot of people off. I mean, you can talk about yourself, your own achievements, also using storytelling, but I'll leave that for some other day. The easier way to talk about your achievements or yourself without bragging is when you put the spotlight on someone else. So anytime that you are, let's say you are in an interview, for a job interview, you probably can talk about your team leadership skills by talking about the journey where you helped a team member. A team member went from being, maybe not a great performer to a fabulous one, and you insert only the part where you're talking about how you helped him along in that particular journey. People will get the message that you are a great team leader and you are a good mentor, etc. Now you can take this model for any kind of story, any example that you want to narrate, but at the end of the day, if you narrate it properly, if you narrate it well, and you put the focus on someone else and their hero's journey, you will be able to deliver messages about yourself. A simple exercise to do that, this is something that I've picked up from the book Stories at Work by Indranil Chakrabarti, is that you take a few messages that you want to deliver about yourself in a particular situation, whether it's a job interview, whether you are pitching to investors, or you are a leader who wants to make a connection with your employees, or you are a newly appointed CEO and you are addressing all your employees. Write down the messages you want to deliver about yourself, then think of a time when you were able to do this for someone else. So for instance, if you want to say that you were really creative, think of a time when you applied a creative solution for a client and how you helped them through their transformation. And if you narrate that story, and if you narrate that succinctly with the right kind of storytelling model, definitely people will get the message that you want to deliver. That is how Bollywood dancers of Bolivia help me deliver my messages, that I am, somebody who loves stories, somebody who likes writing, and also is someone who is a pretty alright storyteller. So that's it from me in this video. If you have any questions about business storytelling or business communication, feel free to let us know in the comments. The Story Co is a business storytelling training and coaching firm. Either I or one of my colleagues will respond to your question as soon as we can. That's it from me in this video. If you have any feedback on how we can improve our videos, what are the stories that you would like to hear, please let me know in comments. I'll be happy to go through them and make changes to our videos as well. I'll see you in the next video pretty soon. Bye-bye.